The Phoenix housing market drop. Where are the Phoenix cheapest places to rent? Where do you get the most bang for your buck when you have housing in general, right? We talk a lot about on this show about where the best properties are, best deals are if you want to buy. Okay, where's the shortage of supply? Where's the most or the least amount of demand, and therefore that affects pricing. But we're going to also talk today about renting and where is the best place to get the most bang for your buck in the Phoenix area when it comes to renting, because not everybody wants to buy. Now, I am a huge proponent of home ownership, as you guys know. And so I'm always going to be a proponent for purchasing property, but there are certain circumstances where you probably shouldn't because of a temporary job situation, or the financial situation is not there right now, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you got to get out of debt first. There's a lot of situations like that. So I think this is a good opportunity to dive into this and listen, pay attention to this episode today, our YouTube live version of Everything Phoenix here on our YouTube channel, because we're passionate about Everything Phoenix and we're passionate about bringing you the best data and information possible to make the most informed decision you possibly can. But as always, if you want to talk to us directly, you can reach out to me at any time and we can have a 15-minute, 30-minute conversation, whatever is best for you. 480-660-5974 is where you can reach me, or simply info@cookandassociatesaz.com. Guys, I've been a realtor now in Phoenix for 19 years. I know. I started when I was like 6. No, okay. I know I don't look that young, but I've been doing this for a long time, guys, and I'm passionate. I love it, and I wish I can go on live YouTube every single day, but you might get sick of me. So hopefully, once a week is palatable for everybody out there, and you are getting value every time you choose to spend your time to tune in to this show. But if you could, please go ahead and let us know where you're watching from. That helps curate the content, the algorithm a little better to deliver the best information possible to that audience. But if you don't mind, you can put that in the comments. You can also reply with a question. Let's make this a two-way interactive show as much as possible. But this is going to be a good one, guys, because we're also talking development like we always do. We always want you to know what's going on around Phoenix with the economy and the local economy we're talking about, and the job situation, and the development overall, and what's happening, influx, outflux of population, et cetera, et cetera. So let us know. Make it a two-way conversation. If you're joining us here today, we would love to hear from you. Pop it on the show, and I'll answer any questions you have. No matter if I don't know the answer, I'll be man enough to admit it, and I'll go find you the answer and get back to you. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to dive right in, guys, to the first episode here, and this is the Croner Market Index. Guys, you know the situation. We love the Croner Market Index because the Croner Market Index is the foremost authority. Tina and Mike over there are the foremost authority when it comes to housing market data for the Phoenix metro area specifically, not the country, the world, like the media tries to play, but for Phoenix specifically. So here you go. Right now, a balanced market, as you can see on the screen, is 90 to 110. That means everyone or no one has any leverage, and everyone has a somewhat equal playing time if you're selling or buying, generally speaking. But right here, you can see that we are in a balanced market, guys, a balance of all balanced markets. I mean, this market hasn't really moved. I think last week on our show, this was at 100. So the CMI was at 100. Now it's at 99.9. I mean, you almost can't get more balanced than where we're at right now. Now, I know it doesn't feel necessarily like a balanced market for a lot of people out there, because especially for selling, you're like, man, my house has been on the market longer than I would anticipate, and so on and so forth. But I know it feels that way, but there's a reason for that, guys. And the reason is because, well, we're going to get to it right now. Cliffhanger. So let's go back to my screen, and I'm going to actually show you some information, okay, that I think is very, very important. Now, the commentary here is interesting. Now, you know, we have this chart here. I'm going to show you here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, but the commentary here is very important about what's happening with the Croner report and the housing market in general, okay? August 17th, they're talking about the high-end market. Now, this is pretty common because we have a different seasonal market here in Phoenix than most places across America, most cities, okay? Because we are really hot in the summer and we're really nice in the winter, which is the opposite of most other places, okay, to an extent. But the lack of the luxury home market and sales are really causing a distortion of market averages. That's what they're saying here, guys. So again, if you go off averages, if you go off averages price per square foot, you are bound to be misled in a market right now that's just coming off the summer season. So you don't want to go off price per square foot when you determine where the market's moving right now in Phoenix. Because if you did and only did, you would think the market's fallen off a cliff. Now, the market may be trending downward. That is a truism. That's a fact. Okay. But it may not be as significant as you might think. Because, guys, at the end of the day, nobody wants to catch a fallen knife. You with me on that? So if it's falling, let's call it what it is. But if it's going too far down, you might be, ooh, I'm going to back off a little bit. But the reality is that the luxury home market, with the absence of the luxury properties, are causing a big issue with this. And the number one reason is not because they aren't necessarily selling. It's a byproduct of that. They are actually removing them from the market. Why? Because most luxury home sellers don't put their houses on the market in the middle of July or even the 1st of August. A lot of them will wait till after Labor Day weekend. We're seeing that right now with a couple of home sellers that we're dealing with, that we are prepping their houses right now to come on the market after the Labor Day weekend. Because even though school's back, it's still a little hot and people are still waiting for that everything to settle down a little bit more, which kids sports come into play and all kinds of things after Labor Day weekend. So little tidbit there when it comes to the housing market and the seasonal cycle on the luxury home side. That's what the Croner report is referring to right now. So let's go back to it, okay? And let's dive right into what they're saying, all right? Now, you can see different areas, luxury home market like Cape Creek, Carefree, Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, etc., okay, and a couple of different zip codes are actually falling on the average price per square foot. And what's interesting, this right here, when we look at Greater Phoenix as a whole, we see the weak contribution from luxury sales dragging down the price per square foot all the way from $313 to $289, a drop of 7.6%. Interesting. More than twice the decline seen in the market outside of the Northeast of America, okay? Naturally, we expect higher end sales to recover once the temperatures cool off, which means their contribution to the average price per square foot will grow and average pricing will probably recover its stability. So that's their prediction when it comes to the Croner report, all right? Now, really quick, I'm not going to go spend much time on this, but you can see right now there's a mixture of green and red on the screen for the suburbs across the valley, all right? Fountain Hills is up 12%. It was interesting because Fountain Hills is more of a luxury home market and it's still hot outside. So for whatever reason, that's moving in the right direction. You have other ones that are not doing so well. But if you look at this, guys, you have 9 suburbs that are in technically a seller's market still. You have 2, 3 here, Cape Creek, Tempe, and Peoria, that are in a balanced market. And then you have 5 that are in a buyer's market. So what to make of all this? Well, there's some more commentary here I want to show you in a second. I got it already highlighted right here for blue. But let's read right in front of it what's going on. For the month period ending August 15th, we are currently recording a price per square foot of $281 for all areas and types across the MLS. This is down a massive 4.2%. 4.2%, guys. From the $293 we are now measured in July 15th. So $293 a square foot, now at $289 or $281 a square foot, okay? Our forecast range, midpoint was $287. We correctly, forecasted a decline. But the size was almost twice what we anticipated, 4.2% rather than 2.2% we calculated. The actual result was so severe that it fell below our 90% confidence interval. For the 3rd month in a row, the market dropped further than expected. Sellers seem to have far less confidence than they should have, considering the actual state of the market. Price cuts are coming fast and concessions are at a high level. Price cuts are coming fast and concessions are at a high level. So what does this all mean? I'm going to show you those price cuts and those market concessions right now, but I have to just take a pause right now at this moment to say what's up to my buddy Jason LaFleche. I mean, I don't know if you're right about that descriptive, but Jason, thanks, brother, for the confidence. I need it right now because sometimes when you talk to a webcam and no one's talking back to you, you feel a little lonely. So thanks, bro, for jumping in our YouTube live. And if anyone else is watching, jump into, say hi, say where you're from. I love to interact with you if you have any questions or just want to say what is up. All right, now back to the screen. Okay, I'm going to jump over here to this because we are looking at price cuts and seller concessions. Let's dive in. Guys, look at this. The average number of price cuts, or the number of price cuts, last week has actually come down a little bit. They're fast and furious, like they said, right through here. right through here, July, price cut. And then we got to August 11th, there were 1,977 price cuts. Now, the week before, there were 2,002. And the week just before that, in end of July, there were 2,200. 2,200, guys, because that's July. July is not a friend to the housing market, especially in the luxury end, okay? So a lot of price cuts are happening because demand goes down. And it's not necessarily because people don't want to buy. They think the economy is going to shreds. They just have other things on their mind, like family vacations, okay? So this amount of price cuts that you're seeing is a lot, but they are going in the right direction. Again, you typically see this after July. So this is all happening in terms of the seasonal trend. It's kind of playing out in the way that we would anticipate. But let's look at seller concessions because that might tell a different story. Right here, you can see seller concessions, guys. Look at this all-time high, a 10-year high. We have a 10-year high of seller concessions happening right now in our MLS. Interesting, okay? Now, look at the data right here. You can see August 2024, there were 1,327 listings or closings that happened where the seller gave credits to the buyer for purchasing their house, okay? That is a lot. It's 54% of the properties that sold, okay? The median concession amount was $9,990. Now, why is that? Okay, now look at 54%. That is a 10-year high. 10-year high, guys. I can't stress that enough that is a marker that needs to be paid attention to. Why? Because if it's true that the seasonal market might be coming to somewhat of an end, and if it is true that price cuts are actually starting to come down, which the trend was for the last several weeks, you can see that on my previous graph, but concessions are still at a 10-year high. What is that telling you? Well, it's telling you right now, guys, that, oh my goodness, if you are looking to buy, I'm not saying you should. Everyone's different. But if you're thinking of buying, guys, what a time. Right now, rates have come down a half point from the roughly 7% to down 6.5%. And that's not a lot. I understand the grand scheme of things. They probably will come down further here in just a bit. But guys, you understand how this works. Once rates come down, we'll call it significantly, a lot more people will jump into the market. And for Phoenix, at least, we are going into the more hotter time, no pun intended, because it's not as actually high as hot of the season when we're getting to the fall. Whereas the rest of America slows down to an extent, Phoenix heats up with the housing market, not the temperature outside. And that's the reason why it heats up, because it's inverse of the temperature outside, okay? Hopefully that didn't get confusing. But the reality is sellers are willing and dealing to the tune of $9,900 on the median amount of seller credits they're willing to give you if you're looking to buy their house. Now, why $10,000 approximately? Well, that's because that is the roughly average cost for a 2-1 rate buy down when it comes to getting your mortgage rate purchased down on behalf of the buyer by the seller doing it. So, for example, if right now rates are at 6.5%, which they are hovering around, and you go to a 2-1 buy down for year one, you're looking at a 4.5% rate per month for your monthly payment for the entire year. Then in year two, it jumps up to 5.5%. In year three, it jumps up to your fully indexed approved rate of 6.5%. Now, in that interim, that time, at any point, if you want to refinance, you can. And matter of fact, if you didn't use the whole full $10,000 that you had outlaid for the 2 years of your 2-1 buy down, you get a credit. You get a credit towards your refinance when you get refinance into your 30-year fix, because maybe the rates drop to, 5.5%. And you said, well, instead of having this float for the first 2 years for me, I'm going to go ahead and lock this sucker in, and I'm going to get in at 5.5% for the next 30 years. Maybe that's what you want to do. Well, if you have any credits left because you didn't use the full 2 years already on that rate buy down, you can use that towards the cost of the refinance so you don't waste the money. Beautiful thing. So right now, you have sellers that are not reducing their prices as much, but they are willing to give you a credit for closing costs when you purchase. Interesting. And by the way, most people are buying a monthly payment. They're not purchasing a number for the price of the house. Yes, of course, you arrive to a number. Yes, of course, you close at a number. However, what matters most to most people is not that price. What matters most is, what's my payment? What can I afford? Right? Okay, you with me? Now, let's jump back in here. I want to show you a couple more things because we got some good stuff here, right? that just really intrigues me, right? All-time high. That is a great leverage piece for you as a buyer to ask for closing cost assistance. Now, if you want to know where these percentage of closing of concessions are coming by price range, check this out. Look at this. Woo! You have, only one sold over $10 million and they gave concessions, so it's 100%. That's a little misleading. But over here, look at this. $350,000 to $400,000. You have a 70% chance of getting a seller to give you credits towards your closing of your house, guys. That is huge. And you have 65% at $400,000 to $500,000. You have in the 60s at $225,000 to $250,000, $275,000 to $300,000, and $300,000 to $350,000 right in there. And then you guys can see how it kind of scatters after that. But guys, this is interesting because know yourself. In the price range, there you go. If you're looking at a $700,000 house, for example, and it's $600,000, you have a 47% chance. That's still really, really good. That's really good. Okay. So keep that in mind. Now, if you also want to know by zip code or by city, let's go by city. You can see right here. Now, obviously, the cities that have more demand and less supply are going to be at the bottom end of this, like Fountain Hills. Guys, is this a coincidence that Fountain Hills is the last one on here and they are the first one right here, number one? It's no coincidence. They all work together. Okay. Ooh, can't show that one yet. That's a sneak peek. Okay. Scottsdale's down here and so on and so forth. Okay. So now you have an idea of what that might look like. But guys, if you work with us to buy a house, we pull all this data for you so you have a good idea of the averages of what you can expect when you go to buy your house in the city you're looking for and in the price range you are buying. Okay. Now let's go here real quick. Monthly median on the annual. Okay. Monthly median price for the annual. You see right here, guys, look. From 23-24, it has increased from $430,990 to $449,990. That is a good increase, but that's not as accurate. That tells kind of a misleading story because month over month, year to year is not as important as month over month. The monthly median sales price tells a more accurate story. Okay. In June, we were at $443,500. In August, we went up from $443,500 in July, we went up to $445 in August, guys. So the median price actually increased, even though the commentary said that the overall market on an average price per square foot went down 4.4%. Why is that? Because that's the average versus the median. We love to use the median because luxury homes can't thwart the data on the median size near as much as it can on the average side. Okay. You all get that. And so on the median size, actually went up by a couple bucks. On the average size, it went down 4.4%. Why? Because luxury home sales frankly disappeared in the month of July. Okay. Now they're starting to come back. That's the prediction. Okay. So that's interesting and something to keep in mind. Okay. Something to keep in mind. Now, that's the housing market in terms of buying and selling. Let's go into the housing market in terms of renting. Okay. What does that look like right now? Are there better deals out there? Are there not as many deals? I'm glad you asked. We're going to cover it right now. Okay, here we go. These Valley cities offer renters the most space for $1,500 a month on the rent side, okay? So where does that lie? Here we go. A recent report from Rent Cafe shows exactly how much square footage renters can get in Metro Phoenix for $1,500 a month. They ranked the 200 U.S. cities using apartment data from its sister company Yardi Matrix to show where renters rent the most space on a monthly budget of $1,500. For the Phoenix area, here you go. Scottsdale is last. No surprise there. That's the luxury side. Tucson comes in at number one. 896 square feet for $1,500 a month. Surprise, 857. Peoria, Glendale, Mesa, Gilbert, Chandler. That's interesting. Phoenix, number 8. Tempe, number 7. Scottsdale comes in at number 10. But what's interesting is, this right here, in Metro Phoenix, 50.1% of rentals offered concessions in July compared to 40.5% a year ago. That's a 10% increase of landlords offering concessions to incentivize somebody to rent their place. That means there's weak demand. Okay. The multifamily sector has cooled off a little more. Okay. Now, what's interesting, $1,500 will get renters in other cities in the Southwest. North Las Vegas, Nevada offers the most space for 926 square feet. Wow. Meanwhile, Wichita, Kansas, you get a palatial estate, right? 1,359 square feet for that $1,500 a month. And New York is the worst, Manhattan, of course, where renters shell out $1,500 a month for a mere 228 square feet. That's interesting. Okay, more data on renting. Apartment rents hit post-pandemic milestone, and more landlords are sweetening their deals. Okay, now, if you are looking to rent, this is also a good time. This is also a good time because, as you can tell by these headlines and these articles, that landlords are obviously sweetening their deals to get you to rent their place. So when you go to look for a rental, you have leverage, guys. We can help you find a rental too. That's something we do. We primarily specialize in acquisition and disposition and investors. But if you need some help on this, we can chat with you about it. The reality is you have leverage. So don't go in there and say, oh, you're asking $1,700 a month. Here you go. No, ask for maybe the first month free, the second month free, maybe a reduction of the rent price, because right now it's not, things aren't flying off the shelf when it comes to rentals being swooped up. Okay. So keep that in mind if you're looking to rent. Now, I still believe it's a better thing overall to look past the short term gain that you might get from having rent being $300 less a month, $400 less a month than if you had a mortgage payment. But man, if you can look past that, if you can afford it, number one, that's important. If you can afford it. And number two, if you can look past that for the long-term gain, owning a house will be a great decision. Guys, says no one. I wish I wouldn't have sold. I wish I would have sold, excuse me. I wish I wouldn't have sold that house 10 years ago. Everybody says 10 years ago, man, I wish I still had that house because the market appreciates. They're not making any more land, right? And you know how that works, okay? And there'll be more and more population on the planet Earth as we move into the future. So people need housing and a place to stay. All right, that's that. Now let's go into some development, and then we'll kind of call it quits. We'll be done for the day, guys. This is good stuff. Hard hitting, meat and potatoes. Get your data, move in, move out, get on with your day. Okay. But before I do that, let's check out interest rates really fast. You can see right here that rates are at 6.53%, which is what we said, which has been much lower than the average right here around the low sevens. Okay. So that's good. Now, rates are settling down after a wild 2 weeks, thanks to the unemployment and the jobs rate. Okay. But more things are coming and a calmer week could be ahead, but our storm's brewing. That's a great article to read because as more and more people come out, more data come out on other things with companies reporting data on Wall Street, et cetera, that could change. Now, Jerome Powell speaking, I believe, this week, not a Fed meeting, but speaking, and he might give some insight in terms of how much they may cut. It's not really a matter of if, it's a matter of how much they're going to cut the federal funds rate come September. Okay. So something to stay in tune to, and we will definitely report that here for you. All right. Scott's the developer unveils new homes at members only community in Flagstaff, Arizona. Guys, the reason why I'm talking about this article today is because the luxury home market is not dead. They just took a break for a month or two. And I know that because, man, it's been busy with people in the trench, realtors in the trench like myself. The last 2 weeks has been extremely busy compared to the last 2 weeks before that. All right. But this is in Pine Canyon. They're releasing homes, modern mountain homes at $3 million. And we are licensed in Flagstaff. We can help you out purchase, and we have helped clients purchase properties in Flagstaff. Let us know on that, 480-660-5974. And then we have another amazing company, Scottsdale-based Lesson, lands at number 2 of the 2024 Inc. 5,000 list. That is a huge accomplishment. Big ups to Arizona, Phoenix here. Arizona has 137 companies on the 2024 Inc. 5,000 list of the private companies with the highest percentage of revenue growth in the nation. Guys, this is huge. I'm telling you, I'm going to look this up. I bet in 2004, 20 years ago, 3, 4 properties on that list, 5 maybe. I'm going to look that up and see if I can't find that and report it back to you next week, okay? Because it has been a complete 180 in terms of the economic landscape when it comes to job creation and big jobs and industry for Phoenix over the past 20 years, okay? So good job to Lesson. Kudos to you guys. All right, next one here. Phoenix also still tops the nation in industrial construction. Guys, this is huge. Why? Because it's commercial construction, industrial construction, guys. And out in the West Valley is where a lot of this is going down. So I share that with you guys because as more and more development happens, they're only going to do that if they can supply jobs and good paying jobs for many of these jobs. And if they don't have the population growth, they don't feel it's going to be happening in Phoenix, then they won't do it. But Phoenix is not number 3 or number 2 on the list. It's number 1 for industrial growth in the entire country. And that is a good sign for our local economy. Okay. So good stuff, guys, there. Now, we're going to go back here and we'll wrap it up and we'll be done. The National Observer, what killed the Great Migration? Now, we talked about the Great Migration last week and went over some of the things on that. This just expounds on that article talking about certain things of why people aren't moving to the way they were moving just 2 years ago, 3 years ago because of COVID. And the big thing is because remote work was huge because of the the fear of COVID. Well, that's going away as more and more companies continue to have this return to office type protocol, at least for I'm hearing mostly 3 to 4 days a week. Okay, maybe not 5, but 3 to 4. Because they understand there's a lot more collaborative nature, environment, and culture with people being together in an office setting. Okay, but they talk about all the warm weather places still getting a lot of population migration, but not all those places. For example, they mentioned Columbus, Ohio here posted large gains in the second quarter. All right, of population influx compared to outflux. Right, so that's just an article on that, which I thought was interesting to expound on because we talked on it last week. And last but not least, this is a cool setting, guys. Phoenix-based Now Pools. There you go. Now Pools grows revenue for a swimming pool subscription service. Guys, what is this? Well, these guys started a service where they will come deliver a pool in your backyard above ground. So your kids have something to do, or maybe the adults have something to do in the summertime when it's hot. A lot of homes still, now most do, but a lot of homes still don't have pools in their backyard. This is a cheap alternative. They drop it off, deliver it. You have a pool to swim in your backyard for as long as you want to rent it. What a cool system or service, right? They will have that pool completely installed within 48 hours of your order in most cases. And they are looking to blow this out of the water and expand through partnerships, guys. But what a cool concept, because I know a lot of people that don't have pools in the backyard would love that, something like this going on in their backyard. And now you can do it by just simply making a phone call, doing a query online, and you have a pool in your backyard in 48 hours installed, and you rent it, and then it's gone when you're done with it, because maybe when it gets cooler outside, you don't care to have that pool anymore, and now you're back to your normal backyard. Interesting thought. Good job, Now Pools. Big ups to you guys. All right, so big couple weeks ahead, guys. As August continues to shape out and finish, it's going to really be a tall tale sign as to where the housing market is going in 2024. And again, we covered before that in election years, typically the housing market doesn't do a whole lot, which you're kind of seeing right now a little bit. And then 8 out of the last 11 presidential elections, the housing market went up no matter who got elected, again, in 8 out of the last 11 presidential elections. So keep that in mind too as well. And I think it makes a lot of sense because people are kind of pausing and freezing prior to the election to see what happens. Then they get going again once they realize, well, whether we like it or not, that person's in the office, White House, and here we go. Got to move on with their life. Okay. So keep in mind, guys, all that information. Give me a call with any questions. Love to help you guys out. And I appreciate you guys taking your time to watch this data-informed show for your education and enjoyment purposes. And until next time, next week, same bat time, same bat channel. Keep it classy, Phoenix.